Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast, A Court of Heaven and Hell. I'm Lauren, aka Heaven.
And I'm Ellie, also known as Hell.
And if you don't already know, we are a book podcast that focuses on different romantasy series and novels. Today, we will be continuing our coverage of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas with chapters 51 through 63. The episode, as always, will include plot summaries of each chapter, as well as discussions about characters, events, foreshadowing, world-building themes, and more before we finish off with any possible theories and Maasverse connections. Last week, we talked about the High Lord meeting, Helium's secret affair, and Bryaxis. Now I want to go ahead and give a spoiler warning. We are fully diving in, so we may need to speak about other books in this series. If you have not finished her other works, you will be safe until we get to the theories portion, where I'll go ahead and give another spoiler warning. That being said, if you have read all 5 books in the ACOTAR series, you're safe to keep listening. If not, save this video and come back when you're done.
Please see our show notes for content and trigger warnings. We are an explicit podcast for adults. Check out our past episodes where we have deep dived into the rest of the Sarah J. Maas universe and other popular romantasy novels. Lastly, take some time to rate and review us, or if you're watching this video on YouTube, please like and subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments. And now let's get into Wings and Ruin.
Let's do it.
Okay. Starting with chapter 51. Everyone but Amren is at the Illyrian war camp, which Devlin, the man in charge, is not too happy about. Focusing on Nesta, he points out that she is not a regular Fae and demands she be kept away from the women and children. Rhys asks them to go inside, and Mor glamors Elaine to prepare for her trip. Rhys, Mor, and Azriel go with the sisters to Grayson's estate. Feyre notes that while it may not last long in its current state, with their assistance and reinforcements, it may indeed work as a place to keep many people safe during the war. Elaine approaches the gate and asks for sanctuary as Graysand's betrayal. Chapter 52. A guard goes to alert Graysand, and we find out that she met him at a ball since he spends majority of his time locked away in the fortress. He agrees to come out to speak with her. It looks as though he still has feelings for Elaine, but is stopped from going to her by his father. He demands to hear what they're doing there, and Nesta tells him her story and explains that they're looking for a safe space for the humans who will not be able to evacuate. They keep the act up that Elaine is mortal, and they do not believe it, stating that they are lying to them. They know that Elaine was also turned before Nesta. Rhys demands to know where they got this information, and Jurian reveals himself, declaring it was from him. Chapter 53. The truth comes out as Jurian reveals to them that he has been playing Hybern the entire time. The king sought to use him, thinking that he had gone mad in his time with Amarantha. He wanted him to convince the queens to join their cause, but tempted by youth and beauty, Jurian didn't have to do much to get them to help. He despises them for this and the fact that they would betray the humans. He has been looking for Mirian and Draken to not only keep up the appearances, but to garner the help of their army if it comes to that. He wants to help, and now that the wall is down, he's able to do that, and he came to warn the humans about what's coming. He also reveals that Tamlin ran back to Hybern as soon as he left the meeting, and now they're planning an attack on the Summer Court. Chapter 54. As Feyre and Rhys look into Jurian's mind and confirm that everything he said is true, Elaine apologizes to Grayson for trying to deceive him. This devolves into an argument, and Feyre steps in, telling him that they are going to take in any human refugees that make it there. At first, Lord Nolan only wants to take in the people of a certain class, but threats from Durian have him quickly changing his mind. Grayson then demands Elaine give him his ring back, and nastily declares he will never marry her. She refuses, saying she still loves him, but he is too far gone, and Rhysand steps in. After one last nasty comment, Nesta slaps him for what he did to Elaine, and they leave. Jurian tells Rhys and Feyre his plans and gives him a tip for Cassian to help take on Hybern's armies. He then leaves after telling Feyre congratulations for killing Branna and Dagden. That was the reason why he decided to trust her. Chapter 55. At the camp, Feyre asks Mor if she ever had the inclination that Jurian wasn't a traitor, but she says no. She thought that he was truly broken like everyone else. Elaine is not doing well after her interaction with Grayson, and seems like any of the progress she has made may have been lost. Unable to sleep and noticing that Rhys never came to the tent, Feyre slips out to find him staring at the stars. He contemplates the upcoming battle and the loss that will accompany it. As he tells Feyre he's glad to have her stand at his side, they hear the sound of the awaking army.
Chapter 56. The battle commences, but thanks to Jurian's tip-off, they are able to claim victory. Feyre and Mor watch as their plan goes off without a hitch and sends Hybern running, only to be met by Tarquin's army. Leaving the decision on what to do with the surrendered soldiers to Tarquin, he picks a few for questioning and drowns the rest using his abilities. Feyre gets her first taste of war. After the battle, everyone in camp seems to have a newfound respect for Cassian. Much later, Rhys and Cassian join Nesta and Feyre by the fire. They both look weary after the day, and Nesta notices that Cassian is injured. She takes care of him, bandaging his wrist, and as they seem about to share a tender moment, more shows up. Cassian immediately shifts his attention, and Nesta excuses herself, not coming back for a while. Later in private, Feyre shares her hesitations about participating in that kind of warfare with Rhys. She feels as though she would only be a hindrance, and Rhys comforts her, telling her she doesn't have to. She feels guilty about it, as though she isn't doing enough, but he assures her that everything she is doing matters and makes a difference. Days pass without any news until Asriel runnos into camp, declaring that Hybern had bypassed them and was heading for the Winter Court. Not having enough soldiers to split up, but needing to be in two places, Varian comes up with a plan. Rhys and Feyre will work together to glamour the camp, making it appear as though they are still there, while the real army will travel to the Winter Court under a sight shield. Rhys and Feyre are able to get the glamour up, with some help from Cressida as well. Everyone heads out to join the next battle, but are already vulnerable from their exhaustion. They meet Hybern on the battlefield, but this time things do not go their way. As Feyre watches from above, she sees them being overcome and decides she has to do something to help. She realizes that Hybern is hiding the bulk of its army somewhere, and no one, not even Asriel, has been able to find them so far. She knows what to do, deciding she's going to catch the Suriel again. Chapter 57. Needing to get away undetected, Feyre convinces Moore to join the battle, where they desperately need her. Short on time and needing to know where the Suriel is, Feyre goes to Elaine and pushes her to use her abilities to help her. Pushing past her insecurities, Elaine is able to locate it and tells Feyre where it's headed. The middle. A short distance from the Weaver of the Woods. Feyre immediately winnows there, using up most of her power, and is met by the Suriel, who wants to know if she's there for its help or to kill it. Chapter 58. The Suriel is aware that she used Elaine to track it down and does give Feyre some of the answers that she seeks. It's unable to answer her biggest question, however, but does tell her that Nesta is the one who should be able to find Hybern's army by locating the Cauldron. It tells her to give a message to Amryn, explaining that the book holds the answer to defeating Hybern when it stops talking suddenly. Feyre realizes it's been shot in the throat by none other than Ianthe, accompanied by two of Hybern's soldiers. She's laughing wickedly, demanding to know why the Suriel is talking to Feyre when it wouldn't speak to her. Chapter 59. Trying to help the Suriel to no avail, Feyre holds it while it tells her to run. Ianthe reveals that the King of Hybern healed her after what Feyre did to her. She went to the Suriel to get information since she knew Feyre had done it, but it wouldn't share anything with her. She placed a tracking spell on the cloak she gave it that would activate if it got near Feyre, and this is how she found them. The Suriel begs Feyre to run again, but she has another idea. Declaring she should have killed her when she had the chance, Feyre takes off running, taunting Ianthe. Running as fast as she can, Feyre makes her way through the forest, but Ianthe and the soldiers are not far behind. With her destination in mind, she continues until she finds her target and asks for help, running into the Weaver's cottage. Chapter 60. Struggling but determined to hold the door open, Feyre is immediately recognized by the Weaver. She calls her a thief and says she knows she's been to visit her twin brother because she can smell him on her. Meanwhile, Ianthe is outside teasing Feyre and threatening whoever is in there with her. Ianthe and the soldiers walk into the house while Feyre slams the door behind them, trapping them inside. She runs off after the screaming begins. Back at the tree, she finds the Suriel where she left it, and it's in bad shape. She tries to help, but it tells her it's too late. It reveals that it knew about the cloak, but wanted to help Feyre anyway because she had always been kind. It reminds her to stay with the High Lord and implores her to leave this world a better place than how she found it. Feyre holds it as it takes its last breaths. She stays there for a while crying for her friend until Illyrian shows up and helps her back to camp. Unwilling to leave it there, Feyre asks Illyrian for his cloak, covering the Suriel in the beautiful fabric before Illyrian burns the body and takes her back to camp. Chapter 61. Illyrian takes her directly to Rhysand, who immediately takes her in his arms and holds her while she cries. After she's done, Rhys briefs her on what happened and they go to see Cassian, who is gravely injured but worked on by a healer. Moore and Asriel are there, and Moore clearly has an issue with Feyre's disappearing act, demanding to know where she was. Rhys tells Feyre she is free to go where she wants, but asks her to at least tell them in the future as they are all worried about her, especially him. Cassian wakes up and Rhys is furious with him for disobeying orders and nearly getting himself killed. Giving them privacy, Feyre leaves and is followed by Moore, who makes it clear just how upset she is with Feyre, and Nesta for covering for her. She calls Feyre a liar and tells her that what she did was stupid, and by not telling her, it means that she doesn't trust her. Feyre, still upset about everything that took place that afternoon, snaps at her and accuses her of being a liar too when it comes to her true feelings about Azriel. After she crosses the line, Moore kicks her out and she leaves without a second glance, running into Amren as she does. 62. Noticing Feyre's frustration, Amren tells her to wait and talk to Moore again when they have both cooled down. She leads her into the tent where Cass, Az, and Rhys are waiting. Nesta shows up shortly after, and Feyre then shares what the Suriel told her about the book. Amren gives Nesta the stones and bones and tells her how to use them. Nesta is afraid, but proceeds to go looking for the cauldron after some reassurance from Cassian. Everyone watches as Nesta goes in, but shortly after, Feyre has to go into her mind in an attempt to save her. She found the cauldron, but she came too close. Feyre can see everything. The king of Hybern's armies, Jurian, the cauldron, and Nesta as she stands still with fear. She convinces her to leave with her, but as they turn to go, they feel the cauldron stirring from Nesta's presence. Feyre grabs her to run and yells at her to open her fist to prevent the cauldron from getting to them. She finally does, resulting in the objects forming a perfect circle on the map. The king of Hybern is set up on the western edge of the human territory, very close to the Archeron estate. Realizing the size of his army and that they had played into his hand, the group tries to figure out how to move forward. There is almost no way that they will be able to muster up a large enough army to fight off Hybern. Feyre tries to make a decision about the bone carver, but everyone is exhausted, and they all decide it's time to rest and take a look at things in the morning. Whatever happens, they'll face it together. Chapter 63. Nesta, exhausted and shaken up from scrying, chooses to go to bed instead of having dinner. Rhys and Feyre manage to eat and discuss the events that took place before heading to bed themselves. Feyre has an intense dream about the Suriel passing, the Weaver ending Ianthe, Lord Grayson coaxing Elaine, and the Cauldron watching her. She awakes suddenly and wakes Rhysand, telling him something is wrong and relaying the dream. She goes to find Nesta, but runs into her immediately as she senses something too. The maid court members are able to hear the siren song of the cauldron until it finally fades away. Varian, curious as to why only they could hear it, asks about the 3 maid females in attendance, and Azriel brings up Elaine. They immediately go to check on her, but Elaine is gone. Feyre quickly realizes her dream was more than that, and the cauldron used Grayson to lure Elaine to Hybern's camp. Oh. Let's go ahead and get into our character and event discussions. We're going to start off with the Illyrian camps. So this stretch of chapters starts off and it's right after the High Lord meeting and they all went back to the house and now they're splitting up into 2 sessions. They have missions that they're going on and they're getting prepared for that. So they all actually go to the Illyrian camps before they go to the Grayson estate because Rhys and Cassian are going to stay with the Illyrians and then the sisters and Moore are going to go talk to Grayson for the humans. I guess Rhysand goes with them. But anyways, so at the camps, when they first get there, Nesta and Elaine are referred to as witches by Devlin, who's like the leader of the Illyrian armies. First of all, he already hates women. He's massively sexist, so he sucks in the first place. But he specifically can sense that people like Amrit, anybody who's made basically, he like senses that something's off about them. And he asks if she's a witch separate from a high fae. And Cassian's no, she may be mean sometimes. She's like just a regular ass high fae. But that was really weird to me that he has this power of discernment almost where it's like he can tell the difference between the regular fae and the ones who have been made.
I don't like him.
Yeah, he sucks, but I really have questions about him because he ends up being an even bigger part in Court of Silver Flames because obviously Nesta spends a lot of time there training with Cassian, learning to become just training up or whatever. It's really interesting to me because he's always an asshole, but what is this ability to like sense that something is different about the Archeron sisters and Amren versus like regular Fae? Because he's around Fae a lot, even though the Illyrians are not Fae. It doesn't say that about Moore, you know what I'm saying? Something's different about these bitches. So I don't know what that is, but it caught my attention and is really interesting to me. And then finally, I really like referred to this because there was a few lines in this that got me thinking about the title for the next book, especially if it's about Elaine. And first of all, Feyre refers to Nesta as a weapon, where she refers to Elaine as a flower. So we already know that Elaine gets grouped in with flowers all the time because she's like the gardening girly and she's everything like flowers and just lovely and all of that. But there was another part where they were talking about iron, and I really think that like that might be a reflection of something that happens in the title, and I think it might have something to do with iron and flowers, whether it's iron
Ooh.
blooms or like iron. I don't want to say flowers literally, but something like that, like iron
Right.
vines. Iron something. I'm really like I got the vibe from this specific chapters that it's going to
Mhm.
have something to do with iron, and then flowers, trees, gardening, something like that. So like iron leaves, iron petals, something like that.
They're on in these chapters, Feyre tries really to go into both of her sisters' minds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's she says that Nesta's shields are, quote, ancient fortress, sharp and brutal, but Elaine's shields are, quote, solid iron covered in vines of flowers.
That is exactly the quote that I was talking about that made me say
Yeah.
it's iron and it's got something to do with vines or flowers or
That's
leaves or
so
something,
interesting.
whether it's petals or, but I think iron vines is actually a good
Oh
go
my God,
for.
I'm gonna throw
But
up.
I'm
Actually,
not kidding.
I'd be down for that.
I'm not
I'd be
kidding. If it sticks with the Silver Flames kind of title, it's going to be like Iron Vines or something like that. But if it goes with the original title and something, it'll be like a court of
Mhm.
iron and flowers or something like that. It just stood out to me. I was like,
To me
her
too.
shield is this. Even though Nesta's is described differently to what her book title was, it just something about it was like silver flames, iron vines or iron leaves or whatever.
I wonder, that makes me think because like Silver Flames is part of Nesta's powers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if Elaine's book name has something to do with her powers? I want to say it's gonna have something to do with seeing like her being a seer or like seeing the future or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
true.
know. I'm so okay. I say it's every episode. But can we just get a fucking title?
Anything. Iron Visions, maybe? I don't know. It's just, there's definitely,
Ours would go hard.
that's a good title. A Court of Iron Visions, or, yeah, I
That
don't
goes hard as
know.
fuck.
Ugh, I don't know, but I feel like now that I'm like, okay, silver, iron, like it's gonna be in there. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but it was specifically when they were comparing her to a flower and then saying that her mind was shielded by an iron and vines. I was like, okay, this is a book title if I ever fucking heard one. So I'm really
Period.
we'll wait forever, but I cannot wait. I know we say it every fucking week, but I literally give us something, please. I'm going crazy with my theories on what it's going to be called. But anyways,
Yeah.
excited about that. And that was like, I was like, shit, could this be the answer right here? Yeah. Cause I feel like we did get, they said something about Nessa's power being like before that was the title of her book, I feel like. Or it could be in that book that they said that. But I just
She's been
know,
called Silver. I think someone in these chapters, I want to say, call her something like maybe it's a Suriel. The Suriel says the one with silver eyes. Pretty
oh,
sure.
okay. I feel like the hints are like hinting in this part. So definitely wanted to touch on that. But okay, after they leave the Illyrian camps is where shit starts to get good because they go and visit the Grayson estate and shit really goes down here. Okay, a lot happens.
At the Grayson estate, it's just Rhysand with the Archeron sisters and more. And they're trying to talk Lord Nolan into helping the humans and letting them come into the fortress. And he's just, oh no, because we know that you're Fae. Like, Jurian already told us. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Shit
So much.
really gets crazy there. They go in and at first they think that they're pulling shit off. They're like the glamour's working and okay, we're in here. They refuse to let them into the main area, but the Grayson and Nolan come out to talk to them and they're like, we're these people and we're here to do this. And he's like, why should I trust you? Elaine is just basically talking to Grayson. I loved you and this is what happened and this is like where I've been. And he's like, well, why should I trust you when you're lying to us? What makes you think we're lying to you? And then all of a sudden, Jurian steps out of the fucking shadows and it's, I was like, oh shit, what is going on? And then we find out everything about Jurian not being the worst guy in the series. Let's put it like that.
Right. He reveals that he's actually been on their side the whole time. And he was trapped with the Amarantha for 500 years, okay? And he found himself on the wrong side when he was brought back to life. Like, he literally was just reborn pretty much, like,
Yeah.
with the King of Hybern. And he's just like, what am I supposed to do? What the fuck? So he was like, you know what? I'm going to act like I'm their ally and I'm going to get all this information. And when like the time is right, I'm going to fuck shit up for him. So period, Jurian. We love that so much for you.
The King of Hybern tried to use him to infiltrate the queens, and he was like, he did it. But at first he was thinking like he was going to have to work hard, and he was like, I didn't have to really do shit. They were down to betray the rest of the humans, like just to be young and beautiful. And it's, yeah, we know they're pieces of shit. He was like, except for Vasa, who like tried to whatever. And then that's why the other queen sold her to the sorcerer at the lake, because they were trying to get rid of her because she was not down with their plans. But yeah, no, we've learned a lot about Durian at this point. More, it talks about how she was so quick to believe that he was actually evil because she thought that after 500 years in Amarantha's ring, like he had fucking gone crazy. But he was like, no, I actually learned and observed a lot in that. I realized and reflected on the fact that everything that I did wasn't necessarily good or cool. And he changed his opinion on a lot of stuff. I feel like he has a lot of regret about how he handled dealing with Amarantha's sister. And I'm not mad that I did it, because it's like, it's what won us the war. But at the same time, like, he's had time to reflect. He's not mad at Miriam and Draken, even though everybody thinks that. And he's, in fact, the reason that I've been looking for them is because I need to keep up appearances for the fact that I'm supposed to hate them and I'm supposed to want them dead. So by me looking for them, it like leans into that fact that I want them dead more than anything else. But also they could be the key to turning the tide of this war. Foreshadowing, they literally end up being the fucking key to turning the tide of the war. But yeah, no, he's completely not who we thought he was, which we got little glimpses of it from how he reacted when Feyre did kill Dagden and Branna at the camp, and he like thanked her or whatever. But yeah, this is where it's confirmed big time. Like, he's a double agent, and he's also the one who reveals that Tamlin kind of fucked them all over after the High Lord meeting.
Also, with Durian's confession of how he's actually on the human and Night Court side, pretty much, he also apologizes for what he has done in the past, with an example of him having to shoot Asriel with the Fabane arrow back in Mist and Fury. And he basically is like telling them, I'm going to try to steer the King of Hybern away from like the estate. Like, I'm going to do my fucking best. He also gives up valuable information to them to really just prove that he can be trustworthy, saying the King of Hybern literally is about to fuck these bitches up in this summer court. It's like very
like
much
tomorrow. Get ready. Tomorrow.
And then so much chaos happens after. But really quick before we move into it, I do want to talk some shit about Lord Nolan for 1 sec.
Not just the Grayson and Nolan.
They suck.
I mean, maybe some of the worst men that we've met in this part. Like, I can't. Like, first of all, Nolan trading on the humans immediately. His class is bullshit.
And then Durian comes through and is, I literally fought with your fucking ancestor, and he would be pissed as shit to know that you're like this. And that's what made him be like, you know what? I will help. I'll help, actually.
Now, Durian threatening him is what made him help, because Durian was like, I will bring Hybern to your fucking gates if you don't let everybody in. It's, yeah, what the fuck? I don't want riffraff wandering around the halls of my estate. You piece of shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? If any of them if they don't win this war, it's not going to matter what class you are. You're all fucked.
Literally.
You're all fucked.
I can't. Dude, class shit bothers me to my core. The shit we made up, it's literally imaginary. It's literally imaginary. At the end of the day, we're literally all people, like IRL. And in Prithia, there's humans and fays. But still, we're all people with fucking bodies and organs and brains. And I don't know why people have to be like that. We're all in this shithole together, okay? Yeah. Like, can we just at least try to help each other out?
No, seriously, it's disgusting. And it's just like the way that he's so flippant about it. He's just like, well, I don't want certain people wandering around my halls. He's like, you're going to need people to work your fields. You don't want to go out there. You're so fucking up here. Like, you don't want to go out here and do normal people jobs. And he's like, oh, I already have servants for that. It's like, dude, you're a real piece of work, dude. I can't. I hate him. I don't remember what happens to him, if I'm being honest, but I wish all of them to fucking die. And then all of a sudden, Grayson, at first he seems normal with Elaine. And we finally get a little bit of backstory about how they met, because Elaine's like, he never leaves his fucking house. Like, how did you even meet this dude? And she's like, we met at a ball. And it's like, okay, girl, what do you even love about this man so much? Like, really tell me. This is what we were talking about like, a couple weeks ago when we were talking about like the evil Elaine arc. It's like, this is the first little inclination that it's like, no offense, you have Azriel, okay, and you have Lucian who are vying for your attention. And as much as you're like starting to let Azriel in a little bit, you really want nothing to do with either one of these men. They're great men. Lucian has done some shit in the past, and Azriel too is not perfect. He is like basically an assassin. Okay, let's like that's morally gray.
It's fine. It's fine.
But okay, it's like they are good-hearted people. They have good intentions. That's why they're morally gray, because even though they do bad things to achieve their ends, especially Lucian, I would say, is a little bit less morally gray and a little bit more. He had some maturing to do in his like, because he was just brainwashed by the whole Tamlin thing. And I feel like once he came out of that, he just had some growth to do. But Azriel is just straight up morally gray. They both believe the good things, but it's like you want to be with this dude who's willing to sacrifice people just because they have less money than you. What about this guy is attractive to you? He hates Faye just for the sake of hating Faye. Something that you are now, something that your sister was before. You were going to marry this dude when your sister was Faye, and he was like, you're like, whatever, that's fine. It doesn't affect me.
Grayson's kind of like a little bitch to me, but
not even, I was so happy when Nesta slapped his ass.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, I need to bring up the slap. I need to bring up the slap because Grayson was just being a piece of shit, like literally a piece of poop, being so rude to Elaine. And Nesta is just, no, bitch, slap your ass. And she was like, you never deserved her anyway. And I was like,
period. But then I was like, why were you about to let her marry this man? But whatever. Okay. But I was looking at Nesta like, why the fuck were you about to let her marry this man?
I don't know if she had much of a choice. I'm sure she was against it because I know that like Graysand and his dad don't like her and she doesn't like them either. But I guess Elaine is just maybe she just lets her fucking choice, I guess. But like, I don't like this because this guy's a piece of shit.
But I feel like Nesta was going a little bit hard in Mist and Fury when they came to her to ask for help. And she was like, she's getting married. Like she needs to, we can't do this. Like we can't be associated with you because she's marrying this man. It's like, why were you so okay with her marrying this dude? He's actually a piece of shit. Like the fuck?
That's probably plot hole of the week.
But yeah, no, that was a little bit weird to me. But moving on, obviously she's not okay with it anymore. It's clearly obvious that he doesn't deserve her. The way he switched on her on a dime, he was being so mean to her, so nasty. Even his shitbag father was like, okay, son, calm down a little bit. Watch your mouth, because he was being so fucking nasty to her. And it's like, all right.
Not gross.
I was like, Rhysand, I need you to demonstrate some of those powers that you have, like you were using in the High Lord meeting in here. But I guess when you're trying to convince somebody to do something for you, there is a certain amount of like,
right, you gotta be not super scary. It would have been kind of badass though. Nesta slapped him if she just like let like a little bit of her silver eyes go through. Scare his ass.
Scare him. He's already gonna do what you want anyways because it benefits him. But yeah, so Elaine, Grayson, that's dead in the water. They aren't getting married anymore. And I mean, granted, she should consider herself lucky, but it's going to take a minute for her to get there. She's back to in her room crying. She don't want to come out of the tent. She's really going through it, which hopefully she gets over that fast. But now, after the events of going to visit the Graysons, what we've decided is that the Graysons are going to let in any human refugees that can make it to their territory. And Jurian is going back to Highburn to keep playing his part. And now they got to go get prepared for this summer court battle that Jurian let them know about.
Come together super quickly for a quick fucking chapter and discuss what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden we're in the fucking summer court at the battle. Shit's going down. Okay. Literally. Oh my God. We start off and we see a lot of the big players and this fight. Like finally, like, we get to see them fighting, aka Cassian and Tarquin too. We see a moment where Tarquin literally is like, oh, all these soldiers that survived, I'm just gonna drown you on fucking dry land. Like,
which that was crazy. I didn't expect that from Tarquin, to be honest. He got to make the decision and he was like,
no survivors. Bye. I was like,
yeah, I was a little shocked by that.
Me too, actually. I was,
go off.
I mean, I guess if it's like the enemy army, what are you gonna do? Just bring them all in? Like, I don't know.
They can't.
I don't know, y'all.
You have to. It's very fucked up. This is fantasy, so I'm not going to get too real life associated with it. But it's you got to house these people, feed them, keep them alive. You can only do so much. These are the enemies. They're the bad guys. They want the bad things. It's he takes a couple of them. We're going to ask you further questions, which honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like the ones who got drowned should be thankful because who knows what Asriel and the likes of Asriel are going to do when they get their hands on the other ones. Would you rather be tortured or just taken out at the beginning?
Well, taken out easy.
So I'm saying
easy. I don't ever want to be tortured.
I don't ever want to be tortured.
Wait, I don't need to pull off my fingernails one by one. Hell no.
Anyway, that kind of stuff. But yeah, like
so on the battlefield is Cassian, Asriel, and Rhysand, while Moore stays behind with Nesta and Elaine and Feyre. Elaine's in her tent, obviously, but she's really depressed. Cassian gets into a big fight with one of the commanders from Hybrid's army, which obviously Cassian wins. And now Feyre's, okay, now I get why he's the one training me.
Yeah, no, I love the imagery of this scene with Cassian. This is one that, like, if the show ever becomes actualized, I am so excited to see the scene because it's like Cassian's on the battlefield fighting, and then he sees the one general who's actually doing really well on the other side, and he's like, I'm coming for you. And he goes over there and just starts slaying, like just being Cassian, literally. Like, I love it. Everybody. Feyre's in awe, but like everybody, even the other Illyrians.
Everyone. Like, the people fighting, they're like,
yeah, they're like, hold up.
Pause. We gotta watch this.
Time out. Oh. There's a show going on over there. Yeah, I love the visuals of that scene. It was so fun to read.
Same. And also, I have to bring this up really quick because I was like, oh, okay, so Moore says that Cassian sees battle like a symphony, and I was like, bitch, that is foreshadowing. Yeah. Because he gives Nesta like a little music box and silver flags because she starts to take a liking to classical music pretty much. And I was just like, oh my god, it's so cute.
Yeah. Anyway, I think as a dancer, she's always loved music, and I think that she just that connection from them, and then like more using that specific wording to paint the way that he fights. It's like they connect on that level. He's a dancer on the battlefield, and she's a dancer on the dance floor, basically. And because Cassian can't dance for shit until he learns, and the Nesta can't fight for shit until she learns, and it's just like the beautiful culmination of what their relationship is. And I did think that was super sweet.
After the battle, obviously, the Night Court, Summer Court wins. Yeah. And they're back into the war camps, right? And Nesta and Feyre are out there helping out, trying to help people who got injured, whatever. And Nesta keeps like overhearing people talking about like Cassian and like how amazing he was. He comes into the war tent where they are, and Nesta notices that he is hurt, and she is, "Are you okay? I will wrap your hands for you." And he's just like staring at her.
They have a really tender moment, honestly.
It is. But I can just see it was good.
I feel like
giving Jasper.
It's so funny. I feel like he's a little cocky after his battle. He's rubbing the back of her hand. He's, are you here to help me? Oh, he's feeling a little big boy after his battle because normally he's terrified of Nesta. And Nesta's a little bit like I hear everybody talking about you. I didn't know you were that guy. Maybe you are on my level. And they're just like doing like a little back and forth.
You are badass.
Like, maybe you are on my level. Maybe I can give you a little respect. Until Moore's loud ass walks in and okay, I'm sorry. This is what I have such an opinion on. Cassian fucked up here, okay? As soon as Moore walks into the room, he like takes his hand from Nesta and starts like laughing and giggling with Moore and leaves Nesta there. And Feyre's talking about how like she's looking at Nesta the whole time, and Nesta's kind of just looking like where his hand was before, and like how he's just like ignoring her now. And then she just goes into the tent. It doesn't come out for like hours because she's pissed off or whatever. And I was like, Cassian, what are you doing? You don't even want to be with Moore. Like, you don't even want to be with her. Dude, what is that? Cassian, I need you to learn how to be like, hey, Either keep
Thank
holding
you
her
for wrapping
hand.
my arm.
Yeah, either keep holding her hand or in the conversation, or he just like, started ignoring her. It was the imagery of Nesta just like, looking down where his hand was before, and he's just blah, 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 blah.
Girl, it's the way I really did not read it like that. That's so perspectives, y'all.
Yeah.
It's a thing in books.
That
But
is
anyway,
true.
so
That's funny.
later on in the night, Rhysand and Feyre are snuggling up. And oh my god, for a moment, I was so scared that they're gonna have a fucking sex scene.
Oh, don't they?
Not full. She doesn't go. She doesn't. They mention it. I don't know if they.
There's several sex scenes in this part where I was just like,
well, I'm like, sometimes these sex scene timings, I'm like,
yeah. There was like the first night in a battle, like right before the summer court, like Rhys comes in and he's, I need you.
yes.
And I'm like, I'm not like, y'all do you? Like,
I just thought people get killed.
yeah.
I don't really know if I'm into, I don't know if that turns me on.
Yeah.
But
it was also, I don't want to say red flag, but it took me aback. I think it was maybe last week, but like when like they were in Helium's like lodgings or whatever, and then Feyre was like, oh, Tamlin's here. Is it okay if we don't tonight? It's like, why do y'all like, is this every night occurring? This is the first time
apparently
this hasn't happened? Like that you're just like,
dude,
is it okay?
These books, bro, who has sex? If you have sex every day,
every day, good for you. Hey, listen, when you first get with somebody and you're first, like, I totally understand, like that, but it's every day to the point where it's you have to ask if it's okay if you don't.
I don't know.
I don't know. Hey, like,
honeymoon phase,
good for you. Boo.
Apparently lasts for a long time in these books.
I'm just like, y'all been married for a minute. This is the first time that you are not it, and to the point where you're like worried about telling him that you're not comfortable with this. Like, I don't know. Call me crazy. And obviously, we know they can hear everything because everybody heard Helium and more going at it. I'm just like, is it like,
that's so awkward.
Is that a little bit? Am I the only? Hey, listen, do your damn thing. But also, like, war camp in a tent the night before people are about to be slaughtered, maybe not the best timing for me. It was also,
it's a theme. It's a theme
in the library when they were talking about, they didn't do it, but like when they were talking about doing it, and I was like, around these sexual assault victims.
Yeah, and this is why I'm gonna say, actually, going back to ACOTAR, this is controversial. I'm so sorry, y'all. Going back to ACOTAR, rereading this after I've read other somewhat spicy fantasy books, like not like extremely spicy, but like spicy as like Silver Flames. I don't really know if the smut in these books are for me.
I think
because of the timing. The timing really turns me off.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I also think you don't really
a little problematic.
I will agree with that. I will agree some of the timing is, but I also think you like don't really like Rhysand and Feyre, so it's I'm
just gonna say in other Sarah J. Maas books, it happened.
That's true.
It happens at Sarah J. Maas.
You're not wrong about that. Yeah, you're right.
And it's with couples I still like, and
that's
I'm just
true.
like, oh, y'all just went to battle, or you're about to go to battle.
Yeah. There was a few moments for me in Silver Flames. There's a few moments for me in Silver Flames too, though, where I was like, but I was just like,
it's okay though. I ate that one up, but I'm like, I can't remember all the. There's a lot of sex scenes in Silver Flames. Yeah. I'm like, I can't remember.
For me, it was like less sex scenes, but just like moments where I'm like, okay, like when I forget what it is, something happens, like Cassian starts making out with her in front of everybody to bring her back, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, yes.
I was like,
happened when she has to scry again.
Yeah.
And she's like out, and he just like shoves his tongue
literally, and I'm just like, oh, okay, like, all right. It's just a little.
Sorry if I'm like non-responsive, and I'm like literally time traveling in my head. Please don't put your tongue in my mouth to wake me up.
Interesting choice. It's an interesting choice.
Even if you're Cassian, please don't do that. And that's saying something.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. But I will say these books are far from the moneyest anything that I've ever read.
These books don't make
but
sense.
It's just, yeah, it like you said, timing is big on this. I'm like, even like in a sense of if y'all really, let's just say, I get it. It's the night before the battle. Y'all don't know if you're ever going to see each other again. You need to have one last moment. Can't y'all winnow or fly to somewhere secluded? Like, why do you have to be in this court? Like, why do you have to be in this tent surrounded by all these soldiers and stuff? Like, isn't there any other place you could go? Can't you just winnow to the House of Wind real quick? And I don't know. But anyways, I don't want to harp on it too long. But yeah, definitely in some interesting choices made when it comes to timing and location of certain scenes.
Some scenes are great and meaningful, like the cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Cute. That was amazing, adorable.
Absolutely.
But like,
yeah.
Some other times I'm just like, oh, okay, that was a choice.
Yeah.
That was a choice.
Choice.
Sarah J. Maas.
Choice.
That was a choice. Anyway, to finish off right before our next battle, which happens like right outside the Winter Court, Suriel is being his spy master self, and he's trying to find information on where the next attack will be, but he can't find anything until the very last minute, and he finds King Hyber's army is literally about to attack the fucking Winter Court. Oh, great.
And guys, things don't go as well for them the second time. Like, they get it together, they find out about this battle, and they're like, okay, how are we going to do this? Because we cannot abandon our post here, but we also have to be there. We don't have enough soldiers to split up our army encampments between both places. What do we do? And Varian comes through with the big brain, and he's, hey guys, like, we have magic. Okay.
Magic.
We can literally glamour ourselves to look like we're here when really we're over here. And they're like, hey, that's not a bad idea, brother. I love Cassian at this part. He's like, you know what? You ever want to come hang out with us? Come on through. So they decide that's the plan they're going to go forward with. They're going to glamour the camp where they are now, make it seem like they're still there, but they're actually going to be headed to the Winter Court so they can fight. But shit still doesn't turn out how they think it does, because Hybern also big brains this situation, and they're waiting for him, and it's not good for them. Shit gets a little rocky.
The Prithian army is being super overwhelmed by the King of Hybern's army. Okay. They're like, where the fuck all these people come from? And they realize that they are hiding an army somewhere else. Oh no.
Yeah.
And literally half the Darkbringers, which, by the way, if you don't remember, they're from the Hewn City. They're taken out. This is like the most like elite soldiers ever. Cool. And half of them, whoop, it's giving the Dothraki and Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, they just ride out into the light and it's just shoom, exterminated.
Immediately. And they're like fuck. And more again is like on the side with the sisters, and she needs to be out there. And Feyre's, okay, then go. You should go. And she does. This is my time to shine.
Yeah.
Feyre's been wondering, what the fuck can this girl do? And she goes out and she's slicing bitches up, living her best life. Okay. And Feyre is, no, I have an idea. I gotta go do a little side quest. Yeah. I'll be back. She doesn't tell anyone. But she's
major
like,
side quest moment. Yeah. When Moore goes out there, she does do her thing. She saves Asriel. She ends up going to help Cassian, even though we still don't get a very clear directive of like exactly what her powers are. She can fight, which we knew anyways. That happens. But the thing is that Feyre tricks her. Basically, like, Feyre knows that she wants to go find the Suriel, and I can't go find the Suriel if Moore is here watching me. So Feyre basically encourages her to be like, go fight, I'll just be here, don't worry about me, like, I'll be fine, go out there. Oh, it looks like Az is in trouble, like, he needs you, go help him. And then Feyre, like, as soon as she leaves, she's okay, bet, I'm out of here, I'm gonna go find this fucking Suriel. And it's okay. I get why Moore is a little bit upset with her. But yeah, that's where we head off to at this point. I think she tells Nesta, which is another reason why Moore is pissed at Nesta, because Nesta lied for her. Feyre tells Nesta she's going to do this because she goes to Elaine for help. She doesn't know where the Suriel is, and Elaine's the only person who can, like, I don't know if it's scrying, but she can find him using her mind powers, whatever her seer abilities are. And she's hesitant at first, but Feyre convinces her to do it, and it works, and it's moving, and then it's gonna be here. And Feyre's like, oh shit, I know that place. That's like right by the Weaver's fucking place. Hell yeah. So she just winnows there, even though she's already depleted and fucking drained and exhausted because they've been fighting for days. She's like, I'm gonna winnow there, as she does, and Suriel's there. It works for her, but
y'all, when I first read these books and this scene happened, I was listening in my car and I was like sobbing. I was crying.
Yeah.
I was crying in Atlanta traffic.
Yeah, I cried again.
My ass. Feyre finds the Suriel, obviously, and she knows that it's wrapped in like a different cloak than the one that she brought it last time. Feyre's obviously asking, like, I need help fighting the King of Hybern's hidden fucking army because this shit is getting bad. Our people are dying. Like, there's so many people in our army that are just out now and like, holy shit, we're being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And the Suriel is, you can't see the army because the Cauldron is hiding it. And the Suriel tells her to use Nesta instead of Elaine to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, oh shit, that's a good idea. Oh my gosh. And as the Suriel is about to tell her some more stuff, an ash arrow comes out of fucking nowhere and slices into its chest.
Yeah. Feyre's like, they're talking, and she's like this, it just stops, and she just looks up, and there's a fucking arrow, and she's, oh fuck. She looks behind her, and who the fuck is standing there? It's fucking bitch Ianthe. God damn. Does this bitch ever die? She does.
She does. We think. We don't see her death, but we think she's dead.
I'm pretty fucking sure she's dead.
If she comes back, I'm not kidding, I would throw my book across
that'll be the last straw for me. She's dead. Feyre literally was like, I saw the Weaver basically eat her. I'm like, she's fucking dead. This bitch is not a death god. She's not anything fucking special. She does not need to fucking come back. I can't. But
I can't.
Yeah.
I would be so upset.
I don't think she will.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it won't. But yeah, it's super fucking sad. And then of course this bitch can't just let Lena be. Like, she's taunting her. Another anime fucking style villain speech, like where she's explaining exactly what she did, why she should be fucking fighting. She's and I actually gave the cloak to the Suriel, knowing it would draw you in, and I would be able to find you because it had a tracker in it. I'm like, bitch, please stop. Okay, I can't. Anime is notorious for that. They always fucking give a speech that's explaining exactly how they got to the fucking part where they're at, and I'm just like, so much giving that. And Feyre's like sitting there holding it. She's like you're not doing okay, and the Suriel's just like she's like Feyre's like, I can't leave you, and she's like, and so Feyre does. She's okay, I got an idea. And she does. She starts running. And now she's running her ass off, but she's barely ahead of these people. She's like, I look back over my shoulder and I could see they're right on her tail. And she just keeps fucking running a couple of miles. She runs directly into the Weaver's house. And she starts big braining shit because she starts talking to the Weaver so that Ianthe will think that she's in there with somebody else. I need your help. And the Weaver's low-key, like, at first when Feyre gets there, the Weaver's, I remember you. You're the thief. I don't think we're friends. I don't think I like you. And Feyre's just standing there holding the door open because the door is trying to close, and she's fighting for her life to hold the door open. And Ianthe's, we hear you in there. You've sentenced whoever's in there with you to death because we're going to kill both of you. And Feyre's just, yeah, come in here. Get this. And the Weaver's, what did you bring me? And then Ianthe and the fucking soldiers walk in, and it's just game over for them. But the description of what she looked like when she's like, she looked like the crone, but then she had her face like just opened up and fucking like literally like devout. I was like, oh man, that's fucking creepy. But then that's the last thing she sees. She fucking takes back off to the Suriel.
Then we get the worst part in these books, y'all. I hate this part. The Suriel's obviously dying. There's nothing that can be done. It asks Feyre to stay with them until they pass and reminds her of how she needs to stay with the High Lord and everything will be righted. Right before the Suriel passes, we have to say this quote, okay? It says the famous lines of leave this world a better place than how you found it. And Feyre realizes that the Suriel is a dreamer just like her, and Illyrian somehow fucking shows up.
I was a little confused about why Illyrian of all people showed up, but I have questions about that But yeah, Helion shows up. I don't know if Rhysand sent out like a mental signal when he realized that Feyre wasn't there, and Helion was one of the only people who wasn't in battle, so he was able to go find her. But yeah, it is interesting that of all people, Helion shows up, and he has like a super like, we gotta go. And I'm not just leaving this here. This is my friend. And that was one thing that the Suriel like said, like the Suriel, it knew, because you have to think like the Suriel, it's not an all-knowing being, but it's pretty fucking close. And the Suriel knew that it was gonna die by coming to help Feyre, but it decided it was worth it to give her this last little warning that was going to help them basically achieve their goal and win the war. So it came anyways, knowing that Ianthe was tracking it, knowing that it was probably going to die. And it says it did it because Feyre was always kind to it. And that's why it let her track it so many times. And it's just, okay, like, this is cute because, you know, it's a lot of things where people are like, how the fuck did Feyre get to catch this thing 3 times? It's supposed to be this uncatchable being, and she literally is able to find it 3 times. But it's like, it let her, because after that first encounter, she was always nice to it. And it's just, it's night and day. It's Ianthe asking, like, why will the Suriel talk to you, but it won't talk to me? It's because you're a fucking bitch. Yeah. You're a fucking piece of shit. Hey, try not being a terrible person, and maybe things will turn to your favor. But yeah, it's such a sad moment. I'm not going to lie. Like you said, again, I obviously bawled the first time I read it, but I cried again, even though I knew it was coming, even though, because it's just like, it's so sweet. And it's just, oh, it's like not the Suriel, but I have a little bit of hope. I have a little bit of hope for the Suriel. We'll see what ends up happening. But as a last little homage to the Suriel, it can't be buried in this fucking cloak that Ianthe gave it, this terrible cloak. She's like, give me your cloak, Helion. Your lavish, gorgeous cloak, because we know Helion rides around in style. He gives it to her, and she lays it over the Suriel, and then Helion burns it to ashes. And they take off and go back to the camp, where tensions are a little high because not everybody's happy that Feyre snuck off to do this, even though it was vital. It was vital. She got vital information.
It was vital. It was. Back at camp, shit is not looking good, okay? Feyre comes back with Helion and cries to Rhysand, being like, oh my god, the Suriel's fucking died. And he explains that they won the fight, but they barely fucking won. And Cassian is super injured. This bitch got his stomach cut out.
Yeah, Cassian keeps getting on the fucking get real close.
Again, I know. And the healer says he'll be fine, but it definitely causes some tension between Cassian and Rhysand, because Rhysand on the battlefield told Cassian to basically fall back, didn't. He still held up the line because the army was falling apart. Like, there was no fucking line. He ignored Rhysand and was like, no, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that bitch. I'm gonna take control, which is what ended up getting Cassian injured. And they get into a pretty big argument.
Yeah.
They make up, of course.
Yeah.
But Rhysand's kind of like, I'm your high lord. You can't undermine me. And Cassian's like, why is it when you want to be self-sacrificial, it's fine, but when I do, it's not okay?
Yeah.
Like,
both of them have a point, because it's like, he is in charge and that's how armies work, but at the same time, like, he's also your general, and yeah, you can't be the only person who's putting yourself in a bad situation. And like I've said so many times, it's good to have pushback. It's good to not just literally be like, what I say goes. Okay.
I feel like it's also probably awkward, though, at times with the inner circle, because obviously they are friends.
Mm-hmm. It can be really tough. And obviously, like you said, they do come to an agreement. I do think, too, like, this is even more of a heightened situation, because it's not just like, oh, your work didn't get done. Your life is literally on the line. I could lose you. Like, something that you did could make me literally lose you. Emotions are heightened, dude. And I feel like Rhys really had it bad in this specific situation. He told Cassian to stay or to do something on the battlefield. Cassian completely ignores him, almost gets himself killed. He gets off the battlefield and he goes to find his wife, who he told to stay in this area so she'd be safe, and she's gone and nobody knows who the fuck she is. So he's just like, two people that I really love and care about are in fucked up situations. I don't know what's going, I don't know what's going to happen with Cassian. I don't know where my wife is. Can anybody fucking listen to me? I'm supposed to be the one in charge. So I get where he's coming from and like why that would be so stressful and why he would be on edge. But he definitely has a lot more patience when it comes to Feyre about the situation. Because like when Feyre comes back, he's holding her while she cries, which I mean, please let her, because that was traumatic for everybody. I would have needed a minute to cry. But he's like holding her while she cries. And then he's like, hey, look, you're free to make your own decisions. You can do whatever you want. But could you at least leave me a note next time? Because I didn't even know where you were. And like, if you were in danger, I didn't know how I could get to you to help you. Nobody knew where you were. So like, maybe just, hey, off to see the Suriel. Just something. And then of course Nesta knew, but Nesta's like, first of all, I can't fucking stand any of you people, and that's my sister, so I'm not gonna fucking say shit to you. And and that's why Moore was so pissed off. So it's just, I don't know, I get where he's coming from, but it is tough because Cassian also did make the right decision. You can't sacrifice it. If me being injured or possibly dying saves 5,000 other people. Now we're talking philosophy. Now we're talking like, do I sacrifice myself to save 10,000 people, or do I let myself live, or do you save the person that you love, but 10,000 people die? It's a real fucking tough question. But Cassian made the decision himself. And so Rhys, there is a certain amount of his life. I don't know. I get why he made the decision that he did. And he possibly is the reason that they were able to come out with the little victory that they did. I would hardly call it a victory, but they survived. So I don't know. Yeah, it's tough and tensions are high because it ain't any better with Moore.
Moore is really upset at Feyre for leaving and not telling anyone where she is. And they get into a super big argument about Feyre basically lying to her.
It was bad. It was bad, but again, I understand Moore and I understand Feyre, but okay, not to talk again about fucking Feyre and Twilight, but this is Feyre's Bella moment, okay? Somebody actually made a comment like this on our video that we posted a couple weeks ago and about the Twilight comparisons, and it's like another thing that Feyre and Bella have in common is like, for instance, in the very first Twilight book, when Edward sends Bella with Alice and Jasper to watch her and keep her in the hotel, like to keep her safe, and she chooses to run off and trick them and basically act like she's going to the bathroom or whatever, and she runs off and goes directly to James because she's trying to save herself or whatever. Could you just listen? Could you just not do the crazy thing? You almost died again. It's not quite as bad as Bella because she didn't end up in the fucking hospital literally 2 seconds from life. But it's giving that. It's like, okay, you want to be the hero. You want to do the important thing. And what she did was important, but it's like, communicate with your people, talk to them, tell somebody. Like, why are you running off on your own trying to save the day when you're putting yourself in danger? Feyre didn't even for 1 second stop to consider that it could have been a trap, which it was. Like, in the end, she got lucky.
Right.
She got lucky. What if she had run into the Weaver's cottage and the Weaver had killed her instead of killing Ianthe? Just so many things.
I can see both sides with this. I can't choose a side. I'm like, what would I do in this situation? I would react the same way of everyone except for Rhysand. I don't think I would pull like the power card, honestly, me personally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. But like, I would be upset if I was Moore.
Yeah.
I would totally have done what Feyre did, and I totally would have done what Cassian did.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I need to do this. Because if I don't do this, it could really make us lose. It's worth doing it. Sorry.
I agree. The only thing I can think of is that if Feyre had just, okay, the only person who outranks you here is Rhysand, and he's occupied, okay? You look more in her eyes and you tell her, I'm going to catch the Suriel.
I'm the high lady.
I'm the high lady. I'm leaving.
You are full rank.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
But,
literally, it's like, you can come with me. Or you can go to the battlefield and help them because they look like they're struggling.
Right.
And maybe she could have asked anybody else to go with her. She didn't have to be alone. I think there is the certain element of she was worried because I think she even said something about if more went with her, the Suriel might not have let her catch it because the Suriel is very, whatever. So there is a certain amount of that, but it's like at least set it up to where it's like, hey, I'm going to do this. If I reach out to you with my mind powers, this is where I am. Like, come find me. Just a backup plan. She didn't have to just secretly run off and not tell anybody. I don't know. So I definitely get that. And I get why Moore's pissed because she feels like Feyre tricked her. Like I said, Feyre was kind of like, hey, looks like Asriel needs help. Maybe you should go help him. And then as soon as she was gone, she ran off and did something she knows she probably shouldn't do. So I get why Moore is so upset. And also, Feyre escalated that situation as well. Like when
she does say some shit.
It's like, girl,
she calls her out,
but for nothing. It's like these two situations, they have nothing to do with each other. Like, why are you even bringing this up right now? You're not wrong, but time and place. This has nothing to do with this conversation. You're grasping at straws. You're losing. You know you were wrong. And so now you're trying to shift the subject and make this about something that has nothing to do with anything going on. And yeah, it's like in this situation, I do think what Feyre did was right and it's what needed to be done. And I totally understand why Feyre did it, but I do think there was a better way she could have gone about it. And I definitely think that when she got back and Moore was expressing how she felt, she did not handle that well at all.
Yeah, it was messy. She basically calls Moore out for stringing along Asriel. Yeah. It was just awkward. Obviously, we all see that happening, but again, like you said, like probably not the best time for that.
Yeah, it's like
conversation.
Real.
Yeah.
It's real.
It got personal. I was like,
yeah, even I reading that was like, I was like, not the Asriel conversation. She's like, you lied to me. She's like, oh, you want to talk about liars.
Like, I'm just gonna deflect the conversation about you. So I was like,
literally, I was like, maybe not your best showing, Feyre. Maybe that wasn't the time to
definitely not
bring up this that has nothing to do with anything. She's like, well, you slept with Illyrian, bitch. What are we talking about? Oh, what are we actually talking about?
I did.
And that has absolutely nothing to do with you running off and not telling anybody.
Literally, so houses connect. Let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I really do need to point out super quick about Moore. There's 2 times now, and these chapters alone, where someone is like lying to Moore and she doesn't realize, but her power is truth, which again, we don't know what the fuck that means. Doesn't mean that she can detect lies, but I'm very confused by this.
Yeah.
It's confusing. And I really wish that, I'm hoping that Sarah J. Maas is keeping that shit under wraps because it's going to be a big reveal later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, what the fuck? She doesn't detect about Jurian and says that she had no inclination, 0, that he was going to be on their side. And then when Feyre is straight up lying to her, she doesn't realize it. And I'm just like,
yeah, that's actually a really good point.
I'm so confused.
That is a really good point.
Confused. I'm like, bitch, what do you mean your power is truth? Let me know. Let me know, Sarah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I have a little theory or opinion on that, which I might touch on later in this episode, maybe in one of our next few episodes, about what exactly truth is. But I totally understand what you're saying about you had no inclination to Jurian. It's like, what exactly is your power? When you say your power is truth, what exactly is it? But I do, like I said, have a little theory about that. And so I'll talk about that later. But yeah, it is very much like when you're looking at it from that perspective, it's very much like, girl, I have a better discernment from when people are lying to me and when they're not. Like, what the hell? You didn't know Feyre enough to know that this is what she had planned? I don't know. But yeah, that is a very good point in my opinion and very interesting. I will agree with you on that. So right after they get into their argument, Feyre walks out and who's standing there? Amren, because they alerted for Amren to come because the Suriel told her the answer is on the second and the penultimate page of the book. They called for Amren. Amren hasn't been in the camp this whole time. She's been guarding Valaris and trying to do her research. And so she shows up and they just happen to run into each other. And Amren tells her, She says, be careful how you push more. There are some truths even she hasn't faced yet, which is interesting because it's a call to the fact that she's supposed to be the truth teller. Like, my power is truth. That's literally what you're just talking about. But then also, we know that's foreshadowing for some other shit because it's like, she's basically telling her, hey, maybe don't call her out about the Cassian and Azriel situation because there's some shit going on there that even you don't know about yet. Which brings me to question, does Amryn know more than we think she does? I don't know. Maybe. Well, we'll see. But that was a little bit of a, I thought no one was supposed to know this, but Amryn's
maybe her gaydar is just really strong.
Yeah, for real. Something's going on there. But I was just kind of, Amryn's a little more keyed in than I thought she was supposed to be.
Right.
Interesting.
That is really interesting.
And so then moving on into our final little part here, like the last big thing that happens, and it's big because this is like the cliffhanger of the week. It's very intense. A lot happens in a very short couple of chapters. The Suriel told Feyre that Nesta's the one who needs to be looking for Hybern's camp. She calls to the Cauldron, as we all know, like calls to like, okay, you want to find the Cauldron, talk to the bitch who has a part of the Cauldron in her. That makes sense. I don't know how they didn't think that in the fucking beginning anyways. But they show up and they go back to the tent, or Feyre goes back to the tent, and everyone's there except for Elaine, who's sleeping in her tent. She hadn't come out in days. She's still crying about Grayson. I know. And then Moore is in the tent seething about the little interaction that her and Feyre just had. So they go back. Nesta, it's probably a good thing that Moore's not there. Tensions are high between Moore and Nesta right now. So it's a good
it would be bad.
It would probably not be a good thing. Like, everybody in that area would be pissed at each other. So they go in there and Amryn explains to Nesta about scrying and what it is. And we get like a kind of a, not an info dump, but we find out some important information here.
To scry, you have to use 3 stones of the mother faces, which we know is most likely the mother, maiden, and crone. But you also have to use 4 bones. And Amryn can't really remember, like, why, which, okay. But I have to point out, it equals 7. Yeah. There's so many civilizations with 7.
That's
and
big.
These fucking books. And I was like, oh, hold up, bitch. Oh, my God. That shit made me so excited. I was like, no, that means something, especially because the 4 bones where Amryn is just, I can't really like remember the reason of why we use 4 bones. But I remember like we use the 3 stones to represent the mother's faces. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, what are the bones? What do they represent?
Yeah. I maybe have another theory about that too. And it,
oh my God, see. Girl.
And
you
maybe
research
we'll see. Right. We'll talk about it later. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. And then, so big thing. 3 stones. Mother, maiden, crone, 4 bones. Who knows what the deal is?
Amryn starts to tell Nesta to focus on the link between her and the Cauldron, which I think is also interesting because I'm like, okay, there's a lot of links also in these books, like the mind bridges between Feyre and Rhysand. And now I'm like, oh, almost like a mind bridge between Nesta and the Cauldron, which I think is going to be important.
That's interesting.
Potentially in later books.
That's really interesting.
Right? Yeah. I was like,
I didn't think about that.
I was like, wait a damn minute. Okay, but anyway.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
So Nesta's really nervous because she's like, what the fuck am I about to do? And Cassian comes up to be next to her and like he like puts his hand on his back. Yeah. He's just like, oh, this is my girl. Like
things are heating up.
Even though we don't really talk to each other, like we know that we like each other. But so Nesta begins, pretty sure it was Scrying, like because it's like a thing IRL too, different, but I'm pretty sure he's holding your hand and you just focus on it, and then when you're ready you let go, and it lays out pattern if you want, or points to like a map in this case. So Nesta begins and she starts to look really stressed. Her eyes are closed. She's like, what the fuck? And Feyre enters her mind and she sees what Nesta is seeing. Sees that they're basically like in the King of Hybern's war camp. It's giving projection. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, right. They're there, but not really. So they see the Hybrid has a huge fucking army. Big. Oh shit, we're fucked big. And they are in his tent with the Cauldron and with Jurian. Durian and the King of Hybern don't notice them both, but the Cauldron does.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, spooky as fuck.
Yeah.
And Feyre's, oh, we gotta go, bitch. We gotta go. And she tells Nesta, like, you have to open your fucking hands. We gotta get the fuck out of here. This Cauldron fucking
It knows.
thing
Yeah.
literally knows. And Nesta does, thankfully, opens her hands, open her eyes, and it places the stones and bones 100 miles from their human cottage,
Yeah.
indicating that's where the big army is. That's where the King of Hybern is. That's where the fucking Cauldron is. And that's where where they need to fucking go.
Which is crazy to me because I'm just like, has nobody checked on the Archeron estate since I guess they evacuated? Because they're real close. They're real close. Azriel has been looking for this, like searching.
Well,
and he hasn't been able to find anything.
Say that it is mentioned that the King of Hybern used the same words that Rhysand did to hide the army. So that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. But
I'm like,
it definitely makes sense that they're hidden, but I'm also just shocked that there was no inclination to that. But also the moment with the Cauldron, it gives me like major Lord of the Rings vibes. Like when Frodo puts on the ring and the Eye of Sauron, like just set him. And I'm like, that's literally how I pictured the Cauldron when she's like, it opened an eye and looked at me. I was like, dude, that's literally giving Lord of the Rings. When he's just, Sauron's like looking over everything. And then all of a sudden it's just like looking at Frodo. And I was like, oh, shit.
That's so fair. The Cauldron is Sauron, y'all.
Yeah, like literally, I was like, oh, it's definitely giving me those vibes. And then the Cauldron gets real crafty because it starts to really use its magic, which is, it's so crazy to think of the Cauldron as almost like a sentient being. Like it wants what Nesta stole from it. And it's also got its own thoughts. But I don't know. It's like, how is this the creator of the world, but then also like evil? Is it because of who's using it or because it's this all-powerful being that's pissed that Nesta stole from it? I don't know. But yeah.
Dude, I don't know. The Cauldron, we're going to be seeing the Cauldron in the future. Is all I fucking know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm nervous about it. But so after they learn where Hybern is, Rhysand catches healing up on what the fuck's going on. And like all the other High Lords who are on their side are on their way to get together faithfully and talk about what the fuck they need to do. And really random moment, really random, middle of nowhere. Feyre and Amren decide to like make out in front of everyone.
Yeah. Which is okay. I feel like that was him declaring his like intentions for her finally, but it was just again, it was like time and place. Like everybody was cool with it. So it was like cool. But Durian's just like, hey, by the way, thanks for letting me know about the attack on the Summer Court.
I'm on him. They leave the tent together. Everyone's like come up with war strategy.
Yeah.
And they're like playing tongue hockey. And I'm like, what's happening?
I'm like, okay. Okay, choices. Choices.
So that night, after all this shit happens, Feyre has a dream, okay, that the Cauldron is watching her, and she wakes up Rhysand, and she's like, I think we opened a door to the Cauldron. Oh, God. And Nesta and Amren come running in the tent, and they're like, we felt something. Something's happening. Oh, and there's someone singing, like, a beautiful fucking song, okay? And Azriel shows up, too, because he says that his shadows and the wind is recoiling at it. What is it with wind? Again, we've mentioned this so many fucking times. Wind. There's something with wind in these books. So there's something with winds and like mountains that really matter. So the voice finally like leaves and they're like, what the fuck just happened? And then they finally are like, where's Elaine? I'm like, y'all, I didn't think about this a few minutes ago. But anyway.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised that Nesta didn't run to Elaine first. That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway.
Azriel is the one who was, because they were like, we can hear it because we're made. And Azriel's like, what about Elaine? And everyone's like, oh shit, we forgot we have a sister. And like Nesta,
forgot about her.
Nesta is the one who ran to her first, but Az was worried about his girl.
Yeah, it's literally giving that interview that the showrunner of Game of Thrones has of saying, and I kind of forgot about
the Iron Fleet. And I knew that's exactly what you were about to say.
Forgot about Elaine.
I knew that's exactly what you were about to say because that's so true. Because it's you just forgot where Rhaegar just got shot out Sky because you forgot about the Iron Fleet. Like, come on, bro. That can't be canon. Anyway. Anyways, sorry guys. But yeah, we got to cover pop culture references, but dude.
Always. So Nesta goes running into Elaine's tent, and guess what? She's not fucking there.
Go figure.
The book literally says the Cauldron lured her out like a siren, and it took her, and it was taunting them because it literally leaves her cloak outside of the camp border. And now they're like, our sisters got kidnapped by the fucking Cauldron.
But literally also, like, Feyre should realize, like, Feyre low-key just have a straight up
vision.
Like, vision, like Elaine, literally, because everything she dreamed either had already happened or was happening. So it was just really interesting because she dreamed about the Suriel, then she dreamed about the Weaver ending Ianthe, then she dreamed about Lord Grayson coaxing Elaine away, and then the Cauldron watching her. And my thing is, okay, you realize that all the other three things actually happened or were happening. How did you not even think to yourself, hey, somebody check on Elaine? I dreamed that she got coaxed away. Especially when you heard the siren song. It was like, what? I was thinking to myself, this is kind of like, what's wrong with Feyre?
Literally.
You dreamed it. Like, not just like, oh, for sure I dreamed it. It must be true. But it's like, you didn't even check on her when you woke up. Everybody forgot she existed until Asriel was like, oh, what about your guys' other sister? And like you said, Nesta's so protective of Elaine. It's like, how did nobody, I don't know.
I would think that Asriel will go see Elaine first too.
Yeah, just check on her. Because you thought to be like, oh, what about Elaine? You didn't immediately winnow into her tent to check on her as soon as you had that thought.
Why didn't you have Noelle and Querdoin
watching her?
Maybe be there.
Why is she just alone? Yeah.
It's fine. It's a story.
They probably thought that no one can get in here. We're warded. We're safe. But it's like, Feyre, you dreamed it.
That's happened before, though.
Yes.
The King of Hybern has literally gotten to Valoris twice.
But that was supposed to be a one-time spell that he used, and he wasted it to get him into the library or whatever. I don't know, but it is kind of like, okay. I mean, I get it. Y'all are stressed. Y'all are exhausted. There's a lot going on, but like,
right.
How'd you just forget you had a whole ass sister that nobody's seen in a few hours? Nobody's checking on her. You would think they would have a guard outside her tent.
To me, I would think that Nesta and Elaine would share the same tent.
That's what I thought too. I thought about that too. But even if they had separate tents, they have a lot of tents. It's a war camp. But even if I would think that they had a guard standing outside her tent. Literally. And then if not, Elaine got up and walked out of the camp. They didn't winnow into the camp to get her. She got up and she walked out. No one saw her. No one was watching her. It is a little bit like, I can't. I don't want to get too far into it, but I'm just like,
oh, me too. I don't care either. Because it is true.
No one thought, what's this girl just walking out?
3 of the week?
Gosh. It's a plot hole. I don't know what number it is, but it's definitely a plot hole because it's just like, why wouldn't you have guards stationed outside of the main players' camps? Like, why wouldn't you have guards stationed on the border of your own camp? She had to walk out. Anyways, that's where we leave the story this week. Elaine's missing. Shit's going down. The Cauldron is watching. There's a portal opened. 2 big battles have gone down. One went great. One didn't go so great. But it turns out that both of them didn't really go great because Hybern planned for everything that happened. They were, again, 5 to 6 steps ahead of these guys. I actually am low-key shocked that they end up winning this fucking war because it's like everything up until the point of them getting there is just like them making mistake after mistake, and shit doesn't really add up if I'm being 100% honest. I'm like, how y'all end up winning? The King of Hybern has been 20 steps ahead of y'all this whole fucking time, but I digress. Okay, anyways, a lot happens.
Again, y'all, these books are good for reading for fun.
Yeah, a lot happens.
Not really like literary masterpieces.
They
are a masterpiece that is in literature, but when comparing this to stories like Lord of the Rings, it's like very different.
It's just not.
Even Game of Thrones is very fucking different. I was gonna say the Game of Thrones books are literary masterpieces. The shows definitely have plot holes, but that's because they changed that book. But
yeah.
Anyway, this is gotta Game of Thrones episode. But
Yeah.
if you want to hear us talk about Game of Thrones, let us know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let us know, because we will never shut the fuck up about it.
We can talk about it. We can talk about
We'll
it.
talk.
Good and bad. Good and bad.
Well, I'll do the whole thing. Let us know for real if you guys would be interested in that, because holy moly.
Seriously,
I would so be down. But okay, guys, there is a few things that we talked about, obviously the most of the events and character discussions and stuff like that. But there is a little bit of foreshadowing and like world building things that we need to touch on for this, this part of the book, especially going forward. So first thing is gonna be witches versus fae.
Yes. So we get an explanation of what witches are in the ACOTAR universe. And the book says, quote, witches amass power beyond their natural reserves. They use spell and arcane tools to harness more power to them than the cauldron allotted and use it for whatever they desire, good or evil. Okay, so like obviously Nesta is called a witch like multiple times.
Yeah.
And this series, and I'm just like, that does explain.
It really does. Yeah.
Lily was like, I am one.
What'd you say?
She was like, I am one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Are you a witch? She was like, yes.
Yeah. She was like, yeah.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, she can't use our weapons. She can't. They're gonna be tainted. I'm like, y'all need to calm the fuck down. The fuck. Anyway.
No, that's so true. But yeah, that literally like describes her, like power beyond their natural reserves. Okay. She amassed that from stealing from the cauldron, spells and archaic tools. The dread trove.
Literally just did that with scrying.
Yeah, that's scrying. The trove, the sword that she uses to imbue her power into, like just so many things. And basically, so far, I feel like she's pretty much used it for good, but like the choice is like always going to be based on her and like her decision, because she doesn't inherently have to be good. So yeah, definitely very much nail on the head for that one.
So I think it's definitely foreshadowing for something that's going to happen with Elaine in the future taking power. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. So one thing I wanted to point out was in very interesting, it was the wording for me when Elaine gets broken up with by Isaac. What's his name? I said Isaac was Feyre's boyfriend. By Grayson. When she gets broken up with by Grayson, she literally is like crying. And Feyre points out, she said, now our father is her last tether to the human world. So I don't know if that means anything, but for me, for some reason, that just stood out to me, because it's obviously we know what ends up happening to their father. And it's like that statement now means that they absolutely have no ties to the human world. Like once that tether is cut, that's their last little line to connect them to their human lives. And I don't know if that means anything, but definitely just the wording and the way that was like put in there made me be like, that's interesting, because he's not going to be around much longer. We already know that I think that fate is somewhat involved when it comes to what is going on with the Archeron sisters. And yeah, I don't know. It just really caught my attention. A lot of lines in these books that just make me stop and go, okay, if all their ties to the human world are severed after this, what does that mean? What does that mean for their futures and for their backstories? I don't know, but we shall see.
We shall see. Okay. I'm not going to fully flesh out this theory right now because I need to do more research on it, but I need to talk about it really quick. It's just ACOTAR, y'all, so you're so good. Okay. But, okay, I caught this and I started Googling stuff and I was like, one sec.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so it is mentioned when Cassian is fighting on the field, whatever the fuck, in the summer court battle, that he fights like this god named, I'm going to mispronounce this, y'all, I'm so sorry, called Ornelius. And I did some research on my little Google. Thank you, Google. So Ornelius in ACOTAR world was an ancient warrior god and the first of the Illyrians. Okay, that's the character in ACOTAR. This character is probably based off of, pronounced Ornelios.
Oh.
Who was the Greek mythology god of soldiers. Okay. And so I was looking up some stuff and I was like, oh my God, I came across this theory that someone posted. I found this theory on Tumblr of all places. I will link it if y'all want to read about it. I'm not going to go into full detail, but there's a theory that actually he was just like, this makes me excited because he is called the Prince of Bastards by the Bone Carver. So this theory is saying that Cassian might be a royal Illyrian prince who was related to the ancient warrior god and the first of the Illyrians.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, shut the
Yeah.
I'd be so excited for him. Like, he's literally bullied and being called low-born bastard this whole time. And it's giving like a Jon Snow moment, not to bring Game of Thrones again, of it being like, actually, you're one of the most powerful people in the fucking realm, bitch.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh God, period. What a great
okay.
analogy. But no, that's so real because I have theorized before that he might not be. Well, I mean, he's still a bastard technically, but either the story that we got about his mom wasn't quite true, or his dad is actually a piece of crap and he is also of high ranking birth. So that's really interesting. But I do love that theory because I do think that there's something more to Cassian, and I don't think that his backstory is what exactly he thinks it is.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a little bit of a short theory, but I will put it in the show notes if y'all want to read it. But it got me excited. I was like, period. We love that for Cassian. I want him to have a really good ending.
Yeah, man, that would be so cool. I would love that. I would love that extension of his storyline and finding that out for him.
It would make sense if he was Illyrian god because he's literally called like the Lord of Bloodshed.
Yeah.
Like he is that warrior. Like he's the guy that you don't want to fucking fight on the warfield because you're gonna fucking die.
Because he's coming for you. It's over.
He's that fighter. Like everyone is scared of him. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
He's like the best Illyrian in fighting on the field. Like Azriel has his sneaky shit. He's the best like
spy,
assassin, spy, master,
torturer.
But Cassian's thing is literally fighting on the warfield.
Yeah.
So I'm like, period, Cassian, go off.
That is so true. That's really, I like that. I need to read that myself. I need to look into it. But okay, guys. All right. Yes. That was the last part of foreshadowing and stuff for this chapters. I will say that we do have another theory to talk about, but it is going to be one of our Matt's First Connections. So if you have not read all of the books in the Sarah J. Maas universe, now's your time to go ahead and stop this episode and come back and check out this theory when you have read everything, including the newest release, House of Flame and Shadow. So if you are not all the way up to date, go ahead and come back later. Thank you for being with us so far. We've had a really good time this episode. But okay, let's go ahead and get into this theory. And it's crazy. It touches on a lot of stuff that we talked about in this chapter, and I don't even know if I fully fleshed it out yet because it is such a big theory, but
I'm so excited.
Okay, I have a few things. Like I said, they're all connected. So first of all, the 4 bones, okay, could they have anything to do with the 4 items in the Dread Trove? Okay, we've got 4 items that are created by the Cauldron, used by like the gods or whatever. That connection. It is the only thing I could think of where it was like 4 and 4. Like, what is that representation of? But the bigger thing when it comes to the bones specifically is I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the bone carver, okay? So this ties into a few things that we talked about in this episode. And also, I want to say that while I did have some of these thoughts myself, there was a very fleshed out guide about this on Reddit from the user War God T1. So I'm going to talk about what they added to it and like how I got here, but only because this is really laid out and fleshed out. But I want to give them credit because they did a great job. So again, this will be linked in the show notes if you want to take a look at it yourself. But, okay, truth, right? In the Throne of Glass series, we get introduced to a temple for the god of truth. Also, they call them the Sin Eater, okay? And it is very interesting because the temple that they go to is in the Shadow Market, and it's built on the bones of the god of truth. It's literally like skulls and bones, and everything's like artfully arranged. The ceiling, everything is made out of bones. Who does that sound like? The bone carver to me. All right. It says each of the bones, not each of them, but a lot of the bones have different truths carved into them. Like one of the quotes is, listen to this one here. I'm a liar. I am a thief. I took my sister's husband and laughed while I did it. Okay, so that's why they call it the Sin Eater, because basically, like, people come to this temple and they write out their sins on these bones. They tell the truth, and then that is what they like offer is offering to this god. So they call this god the All-Seeing One. All right, I don't know if you guys are getting any connections to the Bone Carver yet, but they're there. So he says, can there not be many gods from many places, some born of this world, some born elsewhere? Talking about this god specifically. Okay, so this sounds, first of all, we know that the bone carver is not from the world of Prithian. Like, they come from another place. It is definitely possible that he and his siblings would have been in the Throne of Glass world before they ended up coming to Prithian. I hate calling it that because Prithian is like a specific place, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
the Akatar world. So, again, now looking at the bone carver who has a deep obsession with bones, who literally builds his place out of bones, takes bones as offering for his advice. What's the one rule that Rhysand gives Feyre before she goes in to talk to the bone carver? He tells her, whatever you do, do not lie about anything. Like, tell the truth. Because his thing is, you give him a truth and he returns a truth to you, as well as offering up a bone. That literally sounds like the bone or the Sin Eater and this god from Throne of Glass. The connection is just it's too much. So that's number one.
Wait, oh my god, wait. This makes sense because the Weaver literally has to be a Vault Queen, and it would make sense if they all come from there. And he was like, I was trying to run away from my siblings.
Yup. So let's see. So it might not have been this thread. It might have been something else that I was reading. But the other big connection and thing that like made me question stuff was, okay, first of all, we already know that I have questions about the Asteri being gods, death gods, like all of those sorts of connections. And so I just feel like more and more we're finding out that these things that are not necessarily like the Vogue and the gods may be a lot more connected than even like I originally thought, because the whole thing was like, oh, that I thought that the Asteri were the gods from Throne of Glass type people, but then it was like they're actually like the Dag Lynn and like the Vogue. And I'm like, maybe these are all more connected than that, because I'm really like the connection between the bone carver being the all-knowing god and the Sin Eater from Throne of Glass, like that just makes too much sense to me. Truth
makes a lot
bones,
of sense.
like it's so accurate. But then also there's a part at the end of this book where when the bone carver comes to help, it literally describes him as using wind powers. It says he uses the wind to fight. He uses gusts of wind and he can hear the stuff happening in the wind. I think that it's the bone carver that is the one that's like all of the like, I heard voices on the wind, I did all of this on the wind, the phantom wind that picked up the Suriel. I feel like that connection could possibly be to the bone carver. It would make sense if he is a death god, and that is like why he literally upped the Suriel when the Suriel died. Him living in the prison, he chose to be trapped there. He literally uses the wind as his ability to fight when he's fighting Hybern's army. The connection to the Sin Eater, all of that. There is a bigger connection there between all three of the siblings and what their connection to the gods are. But we've already alluded to the fact that they're gods, especially the Weaver. They called her queen. We think that she's a Val queen. We've talked about that. But this being this connection to the bone carver, I think, and it would only make sense. They're all these ancient beings who have been around since before even like some of these worlds were created. It would make sense that they're jumping from world to world and they're known as gods in these worlds because they're these like ultimate powerful creatures. And we know that even though the bone carver is strong as he is, his sister's stronger than him and his brother even stronger than both of them. So I don't know, but I definitely think death gods and all of that is accurate. And also, I don't know why the bone carver can't see the cauldron. Like, he can hear it, but he can't see it. It makes me wonder if something about the magic is connected. And I do wish, like I said, I had time to go even further into this thing, because this girl's breakdown about who the Weaver is and like how she's connected to Word, which is even more because this is from 2 years ago. So this is before Crescent City even came out. So us finding out that Word literally is Erd, it like even adds even more to this theory. But yeah, It's wild. So much. Okay. I smell my sister on you. Did you steal from her? The Weaver of the Wood, how she calls to you. A queen as my sister once were. Oh, she calls the bone carver a king as well. Like when they get to meet each other again, he says, how beautiful you are, how magnificent, ancient one. And she says, you may bow, king, as it was once done. So he's a king. She's a queen from a world where she is the hierarchy of the being. So a lot, like this theory is basically alluding to the fact that the Weaver is actually the mother, that they're like the same person. And I'm like, that's crazy. But she lays out a good point. And then basically she said that even though she dies, even though both her and the bone carver die, it's just their bodies dying. It's not their actual being dying because they're these death gods. Yeah. It's crazy.
Whoa.
You should read it. But
my brain.
girl, I was literally like, okay, and yeah, it's wild. Let's see. Oh, it talks about like the voice that talks to Nesta. I was going to bring that up about Nesta being a possible death god too because of the power she stole from the Cauldron, and how if the Cauldron is literally like works the mother, that is the mother obviously speaking to Nesta throughout all of Silver Flames, and she's actually a death god now herself.
Okay. What if, okay, I just looked up quick wiki page about the mother on ACOTAR. I think it's so hard right now. Okay.
Brain hurts.
So what if the Weaver, I feel like this makes sense. Okay. There's supposed to be a dark counterpart called the Dark Mother. What if that's the Weaver? Because then that means that there's another mother.
Right.
And the Weaver is the dark counterpart.
Ooh, that would make sense.
So there's another one out there.
Is that word?
Who would that be?
So maybe
it could be. Ooh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm throwing up at this.
Yeah. This theory started literally breaking my brain. I was already thinking about the bone carver in connection to the scrying bones and what that could mean. And when I started researching into it further, I was just like, what the fuck? But then I found this theory and I was like, bro. And then even people in the comments went even deeper with it. Like, just so
Did anyone mention the Dark Mother? Because I feel like that makes so much fucking sense.
No, I actually didn't read anything about that yet. I didn't get super far into the comments though, but they were pointing out stuff like the 8-pointed star and the Archeron line, just stuff like that. But yeah, like I'm going to link this in the episode anyways. It's really interesting theory, but the bone carver part got me because I was like, dude, and I wish I could explain it better. I really wish I had saved that quote because now I can't find it anywhere, but about him using his wind abilities, because I was like, oh shit, like it makes so much sense if he's using the stone from, he's talking through like the earth literally from the prison and like using on the wind. That's how he knows everything. That's how he communicates with everything. That's what Elaine is hearing when she says, I heard you through the stone, like that kind of stuff. I don't know, but yeah.
That's so interesting.
Definitely something there.
Yeah, there's something there.
Ooh. But yeah, definitely if you're interested, check out that theory or check out the Reddit link. It will be in the description. I went down the rabbit hole. I read the whole thing, went to the comments, started doing more research on even that. And I might have more for you guys as we get into these final chapters, because obviously the Weaver, the Bone Carver, all of them show back up in a big way towards the end of this. And we know their other brother plays a big part in the next book. There's only more research to be done from there. But finding out that basically all of these ancient beings are gods, that kind of makes sense in a way if you think about it, because it's like anything that's all powerful and ancient would be considered a god to people that don't know any better. Like, that only makes sense. I don't know. But the connection with the mother and all of that, oh my gosh.
No, this shit makes sense because even the timeline makes sense, because it says in the time before the Cauldron and the mother and the creation of Prithian, the Weaver crossed dimensions from another world with her twin brother and her older brother. So she was in Prithian before the Cauldron was a thing. So she really could be.
And where were they from before, where he was a king and she was a queen?
Right.
I don't know. But
Oh my God. Okay.
yeah,
I'm going to think about
I'm going to be
like days.
big braining it. Trust me, I'm going to try to come next week with a little bit more. Even I really got into this theory like pretty late this week. So it's definitely something like new to flush out.
This is not even like that big of a connection, but like, it's a connection. It wouldn't be funny if like, she is like the mother or the dark mother, and she's the one who had to keep Rhysand's mom's ring safe.
That they talked about. Yeah. Because they said something about like how that's probably going to end up being a prophecy. But because of what she was told, the person who earns this from you is the one who like deserves to marry my son. Like it could be something like, oh my God, it could mean so many things.
I'm reading like how she dies. Oh my God, I fucking remember.
She dies because the King of Hybern literally breaks her neck and then throws her to the Hellhounds. Yeah. Which Hellhounds? We'll talk about that too.
Interesting.
Because I'm pretty sure the King of Hybern is bald. We've talked about a lot of this, so it's just deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. But I'm pretty sure that's why he was able to kill her. They even say that she probably would have been able to survive that if he hadn't thrown her to the Hellhounds, which is very interesting. If they're gods, anyways, so many theories, so many connections, but we do hope that you guys enjoyed our discussion today. In our next episode, we will be continuing with chapters 64 through 72. Please email or DM us anything you want us to talk about, any of our upcoming episodes. We have made an announcement about it on our Instagram, but we will be taking a break after we finish these books. And so if you guys have any ideas for anything you want us to touch on when we come back from our break in October, please let us know. We're open to ideas. We are going to not be continuing deep diving these books, at least for a little bit of time. So we're totally open to any ideas or any other topics, books you want us to discuss. Opinions, please let us know either in the comments or DM us on Instagram, or feel free to email us. It will be in the link below. Finally, if you're still here with us, you're still listening, please make sure that you've liked this video and you're subscribed to our channel. Take some time to drop a comment, whether it's an opinion on what you want us to do going forward, something we talked about in the episode. Please let us know there. If you're listening, take some time to review and rate the podcast. Either way, share us with your bookish friends and give us a follow over on our Instagram and TikTok. Like I said, that's the first place where we made our announcements. It's the first place we'll make any future announcements. We also have a ton of other book content over there. It's fun, memes, videos, clips, news, all sorts of stuff. So give us a follow over there. And as always, we're going to go ahead and finish with a quote. So today's quote is, "We're all broken in our own ways, in places no one might see." All right, guys.